Hi, I'm Suzie Dills, and I'm the director at the Hoover-Price Planetarium at the William McKinley Presidential Library and Museum, and welcome to Astro Adventures for September 2020. Now let's talk about the full moon that's going to be happening tonight. But even though it's the full moon in September, it's not considered the harvest moon. In order to have the harvest moon, it has to be the full moon closest to the autumnal equinox. So the full moon on October 1st is actually going to be closer to the equinox than the one tonight. So tonight's full moon, we'll call that the full corn moon. So get out and enjoy. And speaking of the equinox, we talk about how Earth makes that trip around the sun. So in the summertime, our north pole of planet Earth is directed towards the sun. So longer days, warmer temperatures. And then come the December solstice, we're going to be tilted away from the sun. So shorter days and cooler temperatures. But look at the equinox position. So in September, equal light, just like March. And if we look at the angle of the sun and where the sun rises and sets, on the equinoxes, it's going to rise due east, set due west. And notice the position, the angle of the sun at noontime for both those equinox periods. So we're heading towards that winter solstice, so our days are going to continue to get shorter. So let's talk about the night sky highlights for September. Boy, do we have some spectacular planets to view. Let's talk about those visible planets. Which ones are we going to see for September? And of course, we still have our dazzling planet Jupiter and lovely Saturn still out there in the southern sky. So when you step out on a nice clear September night, you've seen the sun go down. You're going to look towards the left or direction south. You're going to look for that brilliant object that's going to catch your eye. That's the planet Jupiter. And then Saturn, lovely Saturn, is to the left of Jupiter and not quite as bright and has more of a golden color. And if you're looking at the star patterns, Jupiter and Saturn are just to the left of that teapot shape in our stars we call the constellation Sagittarius. And Mars continues to approach Earth as it's orbiting the sun, just like our planet. And we are just going to see a spectacular viewing of Mars as we continue through September into October. And right now it's rising about 2 hours after sunset. But when we get to the end of September, we're going to see planet Mars rise about an hour after sundown. And without a doubt, if you're facing east, just like with Jupiter, it's going to catch your eye, but it's got that red-orange color. And by the time we close out September, believe it or not, it's going to be slightly brighter than Jupiter. It's going to be a sight to see. And then for our night sky highlights, our constellations, and let's talk about each section of our sky. So we're going to start off in the south. Of course, we know Jupiter and Saturn are hanging out there just to the left of that teapot shape, Sagittarius. But if you're going to be out and you have a nice viewpoint to the south, and you look to the right of Sagittarius, you're going to see kind of looks like a hook shape. Imagine that to be the tail of Scorpius, and you'll see a bright red-orange star too with that star pattern, and that is the star Antares, the heart of Scorpius. And here's our constellation pictures. So if you imagine how people long ago, when they connected those patterns, This is what their imagination created. And then they told stories about these pictures. So Sagittarius, the archer, and you can see Scorpius. Now making a trek to the right, towards the west, brilliant Arcturus, that star that's been with us since springtime. It's sort of an orange-yellow color. If you just go up from Arcturus, you're going to see a semicircle in the stars. We call that Corona Borealis. And then just up slightly, a bit from there, you're going to see a crooked square shape. And that is the body of our bravest and strongest hero, Hercules. Here's our constellation pictures. You can see the crown. You can see Hercules. Now another trek to the right or north. And of course, you're going to see our familiar pattern, the Big Dipper. And it continues to get lower there in the northwestern sky, the 7 stars. You're going to use those 2 stars at the end of the cup. You'll draw that imaginary line across to the next bright star, Polaris, the North Star. And then, of course, you can see the W shape, which is the constellation Cassiopeia off to the right. Here's our pictures. Big Bear, Big Dipper, Little Bear, Little Dipper. You can see those pictures that people imagine. And look over there to the right, Queen Cassiopeia sitting on her throne. And then just right once more to the east, we're going to look high overhead. We're going to look for 3 bright stars. We're going to look for Vega. We're going to go down there to the left to Deneb, and then over to the right for Altair. And then what's fun is connect those stars because they form something we call the summer triangle. We're going to talk about why that's important, just to remember where those stars are at, because we got a lot of binocular objects to look at in that part of the sky. So that's coming up. And then if we use the Deneb, the star Deneb, imagine that to be the tail of a beautiful swan, Cygnus. And then 3 stars off to the right there from Deneb would be the outstretched wings. And then the long neck and head is a star called Alberio. And if you could find those 3 stars for the summer triangle, look at that little kite shape just below our triangle. That's the constellation Delphinus the dolphin. And then this could take a little bit of practice, but just down left of Delphinus, you'll see 4 stars. Connect those, and we call that the great square of that beautiful winged horse, Pegasus. Let's take a look at those pictures. So you can see Cygnus, imagine the swan, and then you can see beautiful Pegasus, the winged horse, and you can also see right above Pegasus, you can see Delphinus the dolphin. So get out there and practice. A lot of great things to see, and it's still warm enough, but great thing is it gets dark about 8:30 now, so you don't have to wait too long after dinner time to get out there and do some stargazing. And there's that beautiful star I mentioned, the head of Cygnus. It's called Alberio. But if you view that through a telescope, it's a lovely double star. Look at the color of those 2 stars. Different, very different. So that indicates the temperature of those stars. All right, this is the time of year when you want to have those binoculars out. So let's talk about what are some of those highlights. What are we going to see? So the first thing I want to talk about is the Galilean moons. So the 4 largest moons of Jupiter, something you can see with a pair of binoculars. So find Jupiter. You have to be really steady. So maybe rest your arms on the hood of a car or maybe a railing or a table. Just get nice and steady and then just focus in on Jupiter and you should see some pinpoints of light, and those would be the largest moons. And you can see on every single night those moons are in different positions. And by the way, back in 1610, that astronomer Galileo, he was the first to discover those moons. And then if you can remember, we talked about how to locate the 3 stars for the summer triangle. But this is something you might want to be in a lawn chair or maybe laying out on a blanket. Find those 3 stars, and if you scan over there to the left towards Cassiopeia, you're going to just see an immense amount of stars, because at this time of year, we can see into the central dense part of our Milky Way galaxy. And then scan right all the way to the left of Sagittarius, or where you see Jupiter and Saturn. Boy, there's just a lot of deep sky objects that you can see with a pair of binoculars, even if you have lights in your neighborhood. So get out there, enjoy. Certainly, like I said, great time to get out and use your binoculars. All right, this is a fun one. This is called the coat hanger asterisms. You might have tried this last month. So you notice these stars, they look like an upside down coat hanger. So how do we find this? Well, with a pair of binoculars again. And we already talked about how to find Altair and Vega, those stars of the summer triangle. So get your binoculars, find Altair, and just scan up to and up left of Altair, and about a third of the way to Vega, and that's where you'll see this pattern. It's pretty cool to find, a little bit of a challenge, but give it some practice. It's a lot of fun. Coming up on the holiday weekend, just get out there and enjoy. Okay, so here's our star map for September. Once again, this will be up on the Facebook page for the museum, and also up on my Facebook page, starrytrails.com. But it helps you locate those planets and also some of those star patterns, the easier ones. And then once you've practiced and located some of these, use your checklist and start checking off some of the things you saw in the night sky. But lots of fun, great fun for the family, great fun for friends. I think it's going to be clear this weekend. We won't have all that bright moonlight by the weekend either, so please get out there and enjoy. So here's, once again, the McKinley Presidential Library Museum Facebook page or my website, starrytrails.com. I have a night sky audio tour, activities, star maps, illustrations. So just practice and really just have fun with your family and friends. But thanks for stopping by. See you next month.